All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today's shir should be the Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, the Refuah Shlema Shalom ben Sarah Rachel, the Refuah Shlema Rechama Rivka bas Rachel, and the Refuah Shlema Miriam bas Sarah. Today, we go into the second distinction of what is the difference between a person who is a Baal Bitachon and a person who today lacks Bitachon. And then this is in the category of peace of mind. In all 7 categories, I feel that peace of mind kind of encumbers, if not most, but everything that we have in our life. Because I feel like every single thing that we have, Reb Shlomo and Baba Rebbe used to say, is betunish daigenen, right? So the peace of mind. And so I feel like that's like one of the most important ones, and obviously they're all important, but let's pay attention to this one from today. So, the Hasheni, and the second of the distinction when it comes to the difference between a Baal Bitachon and a person who lacks Bitachon today, is Ki habateach belekim nafshay b'menucha, that the one who trusts in Hashem has peace of mind in any situation. For that person is satisfied with what they have, or what they don't have. They're satisfied. And his heart is at ease regarding any decrees that Hashem may ordain for him in the future. Meaning, whatever Hashem decreed for this person, he's fine with it. He's a Baal Bitachon. It doesn't bother him because this is what it's supposed to be. And for he knows that Hashem will arrange and will decree for his benefit in both this world, in the material world, and also in the afterlife. When in Olam Haba. On that, we want to talk about misfortune as a blessing. Meaning, a person who's a Baal Bitachon, we said, and he's always at ease. He might have misfortune sometimes in his life, but misfortune as a blessing. A well-known incident is with the Reb Moshe Sefer, as we know him, the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer illustrates the idea: what seems bad may be a blessing in disguise, even in this world. Maybe it might not even be something for Olam Haba, for something that we can understand. And he brings this story. He said when the Chassam Sofer was married, his first wife, Sarah Yurwitz, her brother, Reb Hirsch, understood that he undertook to himself that he's going to support this couple. He had money, he was financially well off, and he wanted to support them so that he can sit and learn for the rest of his life. This arrangement worked very, very well for 7 years. But then, Chassam Sofer noticed one Shabbos that his wife was wearing her weekday kerchief. And he asked her, he said, "Why are you wearing your weekday kerchief?" And so she broke down and she admitted to him. She said that my brother fell in hard times and I didn't want to tell you, and I did whatever I could. And I pawned off my Shabbos kerchief so I can buy a bottle of wine for Shabbos. Upon hearing this, the Chassam Sofer declared that he could not continue to burden Reb Hirsch, his brother-in-law, for financial aid for him so he can learn, and that he has to go out and earn a living. First, he tried to support himself without accepting any kind of rabbinic position in his town or any other town. He wanted a regular job, but eventually he accepted an offer and he became the Rav of Dresnitz. Soon after he became the Rav of Dresnitz, Reb Hirsch's business recovered and began to regain his former economic status. And he was well off again. What you see from this is clearly that Hashem had arranged for Reb Hirsch to lose his parnasa so that we can have Reb Moshe Sefer, who we today know as the Chassam Sofer, take up a rabbinic position. And from his rabbinic position, he became who he was. Otherwise, we would have never known who he was. And that took that Reb Hirsch, his brother-in-law, would lose his livelihood and only get it back after Hashem had made him, Reb Hirsch, the Chassam Sofer, be in the spot that he can be in so that he can excel in his own way. Now we see that from that. He says, even in the time of danger, a person who is a Baal Bitachon, he is tranquil, he's at peace. He does what he can do to avoid anything else, and he fulfills his requirement of his ishtadlus. But he's very calm and accepting of whatever outcome Hashem will bring. That is the difference between a person who's a Baal Bitachon and a person who's not Baal Bitachon. David HaMelech says in Tehillim David alav shalom, ach lelekim doimin lenafshi kimimenu tikvasi. May he rest in peace, for God alone waits silently, O my soul, because for him is my hope. In this previous verse, we saw by David HaMelech, he said how his enemies consistently plot against him. And in this verse, he says how his soul waits silently without worrying about his schemes, relying on Hashem for protection. You see that by David HaMelech, he also was at peace. He died, like Reb Shlomo would say. He says further, as for one who does not trust in Hashem, the flip side to this is, he is always in constant anguish, and he's always worrying about the future. And the grief and heartache never leave him, whether it's good times or it's bad times. When it's good, during good times he has a heartache because he feels like he's the person who's making this happen, right? Not Hashem. He doesn't have bitachon. And so what happens? He makes $1,000. I could have made $2,000. Why didn't I make $2,000? He makes $1 million. I should have been able to make $2 million. He has difficulties. And his constant aspiration to increase and add more to his possessions, his worldly possessions, causes him to never be happy. He really is truly never ever happy because he's always just feeling that it's him. He says, the Chachamim say, we know a famous saying, he who has 100 wants 200. And that's the tzar that you have. The flip side to somebody who's always happy with what they have, it doesn't matter. And you see over here, it says in the pasuk, we're going to see it in a minute over here, what a word that they use. And during bad times, this person without any bitachon, he has heartache because he's disgusted by this situation. Again, blaming himself for not understanding the Hashem's ways. Since it is contrary to his desire and conflicts with his nature and his personality, and that's why he's so always in anguish. And so said the wise of Shlomo Melech, Kol yemei ani royim v'toiv leiv mishta tamid. All the days of a poor man are bad, but the good-hearted person is at a perpetual feast. It's the exact opposite of a person who never doesn't have bitachon, who's always like, I should have made more money. He has 100, he wants 200. The person who's always at perpetual peace means he's so happy with what he has, he can't be sad. He's always going to be excited. Whether he has a little, he has a lot, he's always excited about it. That is the difference, the second distinction when it comes to our peace of mind. That's where a big part of it, and I feel that peace of mind, and that relates to anything in life, and everything that we have or we feel that we lack. When we have that full bitachon, it brings us that peace of mind. We can actually think clearly. In a day-to-day life, we have a better understanding of things that go on, only because we have clarity, because we have bitachon. We understand that we don't understand. I feel that's a good line. We understand that we don't understand everything that Hashem has. We're okay. Very good. We're okay not understanding not everything that Hashem has in plan. On this week's Parsha, I read something. It might not directly correlate to bitachon, but I thought it was very, very important for every single person on a personal level. It says in this week's Parsha, we see that we all admire great people. We all want to be like great people. We all want to do like great people. But the bottom line is, we all have a certain aspect of something that makes us great. Every person has a true character in them. That character, if they build up on it, makes them a great person. And so one of the jobs of us as parents, one of the jobs of us as friends, is when we recognize someone's ability, that we point that out and we encourage that person, with our child or our spouse, to push on that ability that they have, on that exact character trait that they have in order to make them great. We see in this week's Parsha that Yaakov Avinu, before he passed away, he gathered all his children together. He gathered all his children together, and he gave them each a bracha. He didn't give them a general bracha, you should have wealth and happiness and nachas. He didn't give them that. Each one of his children, he gave a specific bracha based on their character traits. We understand from this that Hashem, that Yaakov saw that every single person has their own ability to be great. And with that is a little story. In our story, a kid discovers the surprising secret of becoming great. Number one. That's the title of this story. He wants to be number one. The word spread like wildfire. There was a gentleman, his name was J.J. Jackson. He was the ex-captain of the school basketball team. And he had been drafted to the pros. He went from high school, he went to the pros. He was offered a huge contract. If the rest of the kids in the school were excited by the news because someone from their own school, JJ, their schoolmate, there was one boy, his name was Arnold Dumby. He was absolutely inspired. And so from that day, he heard the news about the school. He reached that his school reached a road of greatness by J.J. Jackson going to the pros. Arnold decided he would too, he become number one J.J. fan. That's what he wanted to do. So following his every game, studying his every move, he bought a lifetime supply of JJ t-shirts. Every single day he wore a different JJ t-shirts. People in the school, the kids in the school even nicknamed him JJ Jr. One day when it was time for basketball tryouts, Arnold, he was there. He was the first one in the line. And after all, he if he wanted to reach his dream of being like JJ, he would have to play basketball. And so he went into the line and he tried out. The fact was that this boy was lean and not muscular like JJ. JJ was 7 feet tall. This boy was 5'4". And by tryouts, he sunk one basket out of like 30 that he did. Needless to say, he did not make it. But the next day, when they put all the results on it to see who made the team, he went to the board and he looked through it 3, 4, 5 times and he didn't see his name. He said, "It's not possible. What do you mean? I am the number one JJ fan." And as he was walking out with his head hung low, he met the coach. The coach tells him, he says, his coach name was Mr. Landers. Mr. Landers tells him, he goes, "I'm sorry, you can't make the team. You're not a fit." He says, "You don't understand. I have to make the team." He says, "Why do you have to make the team?" He says, "Because I am the number one JJ fan. I want to be like JJ Jackson. I want to be like him." And with that, the coach asked him, what do you know about JJ? This boy started spitting out every single stat since the first game he ever watched this kid, JJ, play. Every single, how many shots he took. The stats were unbelievable. And the coach was very, very impressed with it. And he told him, he said, "I want to tell you something." He says, "I don't know if you know this, but I was JJ's coach when he was a young child also, and he was very, very tall. JJ loved horses and wanted to ride horses. He wanted to become a jockey." Because let me ask you something. If JJ would have gone in the ways of something that he loved so much and he idolized jockeys, what would have happened? You think he would have become a jockey? And this boy laughed. He goes, "No, he's too tall for that. Jockeys are short and tiny." He goes, "Exactly." He says, you're not JJ, but you have something else. You're a great statistician. Would you like to be on the team and do all the stats? It'll be very hard, but that's what you're good at." And the boy thought about it for a minute. He realized, he says, "I can't be like JJ Jackson. I could only be what I'm good at." And the boy took the position, and he grew up to be in sports. He grew up to be somebody who, that's what he did. He was on TV, and he was a statistician because he was good with numbers. At the end of the day, what we realize is each one of us has a unique gift, a unique way of doing things, something special that makes us who we are. We have to look at that within ourselves and become great from within ourselves. It's not possible for us to be 7'4" basketball players because we're not 7'4". But we have each one of us has different abilities that we can do. And if we hone in on those abilities, and that is what we work on every single day, that's how we're going to become great. We're each going to become great in our own way. And with that, I had a thought. We talk about Mashiach. And Mashiach can only come when the whole Klal Yisrael, the B'Shleimus, we all behave. We each one put in our part of this game. Every team, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, has a bunch of players. And we talk about an MVP. We're all MVPs because each one of us is required in order to add to that game. One more than others, one different than others, I should say. But we all have to add to that. And so I give you guys a bracha that you guys should find what is really, really good within you if you haven't found it yet. And you work on that character trait, and that is what's going to make you great. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and I love you all.